Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin. Contrary to what his name says, we do not promote fights in the SEC. If you happen to see the LSU, if you're wondering why in the world does he have that on there, it's because of what happened at the LSU and South Carolina game this afternoon. So if you didn't see that, people literally came out of the stands onto the court, which is the epitome, a brother of one of the players, which is the epitome of zero class. But that happened this afternoon. We have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. It may not be a super fun show because some of it's going to be very frustrating. For example, when we talk about how the Lady Vols lost yesterday, which was still shocking, honestly. But let's start. We'll start with the basket Vols, the men's team. Then we'll talk about the Lady Vols, and then we'll finish on a high note with baseball and softball. So, Rustin, what do you think about the basketball game yesterday?
Well, we said this, I guess it was Thursday. I had a little bit of concern about how Santi and Josiah were already talking about being emotional 3 days, 4 days before the game even happened. That never translates to a good start. That means they're thinking about way too many things that they shouldn't be thinking about. I thought it was interesting that after the game, Rick Barnes said he didn't really like how senior day's done, and he couched it through the lens of Santi and Josiah deserve more than 2 minutes. But I think what he really was getting at was he wishes it was longer so they could actually leave their feelings in the moment and separate and start the game. It's so tight to when the game starts. Josiah was crying through the whole thing, and then it's like, all right, let's tip it off.
Yeah.
It's not conducive to a good start. And then they played like it. The first half was absolutely awful. Like there's nothing else you can say about it other than they played terrible. What's
Shot
amazing is
25% from the field in the first half.
Yeah, what's amazing is as bad as they played, they were only down 4 at the half. Tied this, the second half was a tie. Dalton had an amazing game, but no one else did. The rest of them were pretty AWOL. Zakai ended up with a pretty good stat line, but I felt like it was a little misleading. He had a couple of spurts in the second half, but his first half was horrendous. It was just. But the silver lining in all of it, I'm kind of glad they lost. I thought there would be way too much pressure, especially if they do well in the SEC tournament. There'd be way too much pressure going into March to have this huge win streak and all these wins that, people weren't expecting them to pull off. I think the other silver lining is I don't think Kentucky could have played better. Rob Dillingham, Reed Shepard, the Reeves kid, like they were pulling shots all over the place. Kudos to them. They were knocking down some crazy difficult shots, but the flip side of that is they were knocking down crazy difficult shots. And I'm not sure all three of them could do that in the same game ever again. So, if one of those three guys isn't producing like they did yesterday, it's a very different game. We still probably win. We took their absolute best game they possibly could have played. We played horrendously, and somehow with 30 seconds left, it was a one possession game. Right. So I think Rick Barnes will probably focus on that when they watch the video back. I think he'll probably focus on the fact of, guys, look at this. Like, this is how good we are. We could not possibly have played much worse. And yet the number 15 team in America was only one possession ahead of us with 30 seconds left, and they played out of their minds. So, I think it's a great learning opportunity. I think it's a great get right game to force them to refocus their minds. And, I think I'm still a proponent of winning one or two in the SEC tournament and then getting the heck out of Dodge. Not a big fan of playing 3 games in 3 days there, because it doesn't help you. With Arizona losing to a really bad USC team last night, we're squarely on the one line because Arizona's definitely not getting it now. I'll be curious to see if North Carolina actually leapfrogs Arizona and North Carolina becomes the number 1-2 seed and Arizona moves to number 2 on the 2 line. Because that loss last night was really bad. Like that hurt them significantly. And they didn't just lose, they got whipped. So it'll be interesting to see how all that fleshes out. But this team's peaking at the right time. They had one bad half. I'm not worried about it.
Before I get my thoughts, some of the comments coming through. Backflip Spaghetti, welcome. Good to have you with us, buddy. He said it was funny. CBS showed how Kentucky stepped out of bounds and they scored the 3, but it was too late. We hurt ourselves. That wasn't the only possession that we would need to have back, and that's for sure. He said that 4-point loss. Someone mentioned the other day we needed a loss. Let's hope that theory is right. And then he said, until then, I'll just be over here eating my crow. Yeah, Backflip Spaghetti was expecting a big win last night. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Moondrops Beauty, welcome. Good to have you with us. She said this loss hurt, but the Lady Vols loss hurt my soul. Please tell me what Kelly was thinking, that no one even came up to put a hand in Cardoso's face on that last shot. That is definitely going to be a topic of conversation here in a little bit. Tyler said, I'm just here for Rustin's rant about the Lady Vols defense. And that will definitely come up here in just a moment. So here are my thoughts about the game, and Backflip Spaghetti kind of hit on what I was thinking. We talk all the time during football season how one play can literally be the difference in a game. And we saw that last night in the basketball game over and over and over and over. There's a one possession game at the end of the game. So literally every play matters. And if you take some off, they add up and they come back to bite you. For example, second half, Kentucky's coming down the court. Reed Sheppard had already hit 5 or 6 threes at this point. He had 7 total on the night. We're coming down the court. Nobody picks up Reed Sheppard in transition. They pass it to him for a wide open 3. Nobody's within 10 feet of him. And he just drains it. You can't do that. You just can't do that. That is a mental lapse there that costs you potentially the game at that point. Backflip Spaghetti mentioned something that I wrote down. The guy stepped out of bounds. That photo was going all over the place on Twitter today, or X, excuse me, whatever you want to call it, the artist formerly known as Twitter, and it was going all over the place. Well, I mean, dude, I saw when it happened in real time. I was watching the from the camera that's up on the second level up there, and I was like, he stepped out of bounds. I mean, you could see it on the camera. And that's 150 feet away from the action. You see that the referee's 15 feet away and he can't even see it. So, that's a possession. That play mattered. It's a one possession game. You make free throws. It's a different ball game. They went 13 for 19 from free throw line, which isn't terrible, but let's say they just make 2 more. That's it. And they go 15 from 19. Okay. If they do that, then at the end of the game, instead of being a 4-point differential where you have to get fouled while shooting and get a 4-point play, well, then if you made those 2 free throws, you're only down by 2. So you can tie the game by getting all the way to the basket and making a layup, or you can win it with a 3. Totally different situation. These things just add up. When in the first half, when Dalton went up for the alley-oop dunk of that baseline out of bounds play and he got shoved in the back, that should be an intentional foul. Now, Calipari lost his mind yelling at the clock operator to buzz the horn, so they ended up getting a flagrant 1 on him. But it also should have been an intentional foul, and the dude just shoved Dalton in the back. He wasn't making a play on the ball at all. He just shoved a dude in the back. It's a player safety issue. So there's 2 free throws right there that we didn't get. So all these little things add up. Every single play matters. Just one of them. And when you have multiple and multiple and multiple plays that matter like that, they add up quick. The most egregious of which, in my opinion, was nobody picking up Reed Sheppard in transition. That was just mind-boggling to me. That was for a 6-3, I think, at that point. But I will say this. Kudos to the Vols when they were down by double digits for fighting and scrapping their way back into it and just playing unbelievably well full court pressure defense, creating turnovers and scoring and bringing it back to a 1-possession game. I mean, that was incredible. With 50 seconds left, they were down by 6, I think, something like that, and they got it back within 3-point game. Is fantastic. Or they might have been down by 8 with 50 seconds left. One of the two. But I'm also going to give credit where credit's due. Kudos to Kentucky for how they were protecting the rim. And they blocked so many shots. I don't even know how many blocks they had. 9. They had 9 blocks on the game. I mean, they dominated as far as like protecting the rim and blocking our shots. And you know what? That had a tremendous impact, especially early on, because then every time we drove to the basket, we were altering our shot to accommodate for them about to block our shot. So we were altering our shots, or not even taking them. Prime example, in the second half, Zakai drives the middle of the lane. Zakai drives the middle of the lane, has a wide open look at the basket. I mean, no one's near him. Instead, he kicks it out to Meshack for a 3. I mean, that doesn't happen in any other situation. Zakai would at least shoot a little floater in the middle of the lane like that. So kudos to Kentucky for protecting the rim the way they did. Audrey, welcome, Audrey. Good to have you with us. She said some felonies were committed during some of those blocks. Some of them, yes. Some of them were just straight up good basketball plays. I mean, some of them were just excellent blocks. Let's see. Mino Likey, she still got the because the SEC is stupid handle. I like that. She said, "Evening, bros. Welcome. Glad you're with us." Let's see. Carl said, "I've come to believe I expect Vols to win every time and everything." And unfortunately, it wasn't a good weekend for that, unless you're a baseball softball fan, which Carl's a huge baseball fan, so that's good. Let's see. Moondrops Beauty said, "I was upset that the players were upset. Like, hello, what do you expect, ladies, at South Carolina?" Oh, she's still talking about the Lady Vols. Play defense until the clock reads 0. Yeah, for real. We'll talk about that one in just a minute. Carl said, Kentucky killed us nailing the threes. It seemed like every time they shot it, well, pretty close. Absolutely. They hit a total of 15 threes in the game.
Yeah, they shot 51% from 3.
It's hard to beat a team when they hit 15 threes, just saying. Yeah, Carl's right. And we missed when we got that, we missed it.
We missed 6 free throws, and all of them were at crucial times. And several of them were the front end of 1-and-1s. That can't happen in March.
Yep, exactly. Mino, like he said, they fought hard. Dalton's got his 40. I hate Kentucky, but they played tough. Not really upset, except for our players. Yeah, I mean, kudos to Kentucky. They played really well. And, still a 1-possession game at the end of the game. The good news is that game ultimately meant nothing. And that's a good thing because we still are regular season champs. We're still the number 1 seed going in the SEC tournament. Let's see. Carl said he agreed on the block shots. No fouls were ever called.
They definitely let it get rough at the rim. There were a lot of blocks that were, both ways. There were a lot of blocks that were clean and a lot that had a whole lot of body involved, and they just let it go. What drives me crazy, though, is that when they let them absolutely bang at the rim like that, and, bodies are flying all over the place, and then we get to half court and they call a hand check. And it's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
That drives me nuts. They called one on Jemai Meshack at one point, and it's like, what are you doing? What just happened over there underneath the basket? There were literally three crimes committed over here, and you call a hand check? That stuff drives me nuts.
Yeah, there was 1 or 2 plays where Tiero could have been called for a flagrant 1.
Yeah.
But instead they said, common foul, that kind of thing. Like you said, she can't change her name for 9 more days. And she said if we had just made those free throws. Let's see. Moondrops Beauty just said another thing about the Lady Vols. I started. I'm going to come back to that one. Tyler asked a good question. He said, does Connect's ability to score impact the team for better or worse? Citing Rick Barnes' post-game comment that he forced some looks that could have been points for other guys on the team.
Maybe. I'll defend Dalton here. I didn't see anybody else that wanted the ball. I saw a bunch of people forcing some bad shots and realizing they were off, and then turning down shots that were wide open because they knew they weren't going to hit. At some point, you got to feel for Dalton because he's the only one scoring, and he was trying to get other people involved. And I mean, how many wide open shots did Santi miss? How many wide open shots did Jonas miss? I mean, it wasn't good. And Dalton was trying to get everybody else involved, but they weren't helping.
Well, and it's difficult to say we can't totally rely on Dalton, which the coaching staff has said. But then you run him into the corner and run a triple screen for him to get an isolation on the opposite wing. I mean, that play is designed solely to rely on Dalton.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so they ran it multiple times. But so in that regard, I mean, he's probably expecting, like I'm supposed to take the shot. But then, on one of those plays, he forced one really bad and near the top of the key. And Barnes just threw his hands up in the air. He's like, I can't believe you just took that shot. And if you haven't seen the SEC Inside they did on SEC Network of Tennessee basketball a couple weeks ago, I would invite everybody to go watch it. The one thing that if you watch that, you heard Rick Barnes say over and over and over is we never have to force a shot. We have too many good shooters. We never have to force a shot. Keep moving the ball. We'll find an open shot. And they didn't do much of that in the second half. Let's see. Minalaki said no consistency in the officiating, and Audrey agreed with you what you were saying about hand checking at half court, but felony assault on the baseline. Tony said besides Zakai, Kentucky's guards are much quicker than ours. Yes, they are. But kudos to Santi for playing really good defense as always.
Yeah.
And Tony agreed. He said, if Dalton passes, the others aren't going to hit the shot. They weren't last night. That's for sure. Kevin, welcome, Kevin. Good to have you, buddy. He said, when they don't call reasonable fouls in the paint, games get out of hand. And I think the refs start calling ticky-tack calls over the floor to try to regain control. Yeah, you're exactly right.
And that should never, ever happen. Like if a ref ever has in their mind, I better get control again right now, that means he's already blown it twice. So that thought should never creep in.
Carl makes probably the best point of the evening so far that nobody said. For the last home game, most laid an egg. Specifically, the seniors that were honored, Santi and Josiah. Josiah played okay. He made a couple shots. It's sad that I'm saying he made a couple shots. It should be more than that. Santi offensively didn't have it.
No.
He literally did not make a shot.
He had one from the corner where he was wide open and airballed it. And it was like, okay, this ain't going to be his night.
Yeah. He had ended the game with 0 points. Josiah at least ended the game with 8 points, but Josiah was our leading rebounder. He had 10 rebounds. But, when we played at Kentucky, Josiah was the leading scorer. It was just unfortunate.
Honestly, as physical as it was, I was kind of disappointed just to take some pressure off Dalton. I would have liked to have seen them roll Tobey in there and run some isolations for him, just to let him bang on people, get to the free throw line. Every shot Tobey takes at the free throw line is time for everybody else to rest. And if nobody else was going to get to the paint, if nobody else was going to go be aggressive, Lord knows Jonas backed off. If they're not going to attack the basket and try to get stoppage shots, Tobey will. He would have. I felt like he was real aggressive early when he had his opportunities, and then they just kind of forgot him. I would have loved to have seen some post up isolations for him late, just to give everybody else some breathers.
Oreo Puppy Dog, welcome, Oreo Puppy Dog. He said should have took the basketball and just gave him a football. Audrey said first game against Kentucky, they defended Dalton to an extreme. This game, they defended everyone else and forced DK to beat him and make the shots, which, I mean, he did. He did make them. 40-point game. He was our offense. I mean, let's be honest. We scored 81 total points. So Dalton had as close to half as he could possibly get without having a half. And I mean, it was incredible watching him play. But other guys have to be there too. I mean, they have to step up. That's the bottom line. We've said, well, I mean, we've talked a lot about if you got, 3 guys, which they did have 3 guys in double digits last night, but unfortunately it was 40, 17, and 11 were the 3 point totals, Dalton, Zakai, and Jonas. And everybody else was in single digits, and there was not much of them there. Let's see here. Oreo Puppy Dog said Kelly Harper just absolutely messed up on their game. Should have handed it South Carolina their first loss. I agree. We'll get to that in a moment. This is Zach. Zach said, "Hey everyone, I'm heading home from a date. Be careful, Zach. Even though be careful those ladies, man.
You've already died once.
Yeah. He said, even though we lost, I'm still on a high from the SEC regular season championship for sure, no doubt." Audrey said, Santi has not been the same since he got back from his grandmother's funeral. I agree with that. He has been struggling. Zach said there were times when Kentucky took cheap shot. We only lost by 3, almost, I get that. Almost 4-0 in the 4-game stretch to end the season. And you're right. I thought about you last night, Zach, when I thought about that. Big Orange Vol, welcome, Big Orange Vol. He said, congrats to Kentucky for beating the SEC champs and finishing 4th in the league. They needed that. They actually finished 2nd. They did beat, you're right, the SEC champs, but they did end up 2nd. So they'll be the 2 seed heading into the tournament. Carl said DK was off the first half, I thought. So that's interesting. He didn't make as many as we expect, and he still ended the first half with 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, the guy just scores. Like, that's just what he does, Zach said basketball lost, but baseball had the sweep. That's true. We're going to talk about that. Zach, oh my gosh. Sorry, that was really good. Zach said, I'm a cat. I got it. So we have more people watching right now between all 3 platforms than we've ever had combined at a single time. And so if you don't understand this comment, I invite you to go back to, I think, maybe October, November, and you'll find an episode where we thought Zach had died. And, that I invite you to go watch that. That will make you appreciate this comment. It was horribly sad that night because we know Zach. We love Zach. But this comment makes it rather humorous. Good one there. Yeah, Audrey said late October. I think it was late October. It might have been early November. Zach said he thinks it was the Missouri game. It was Zach had a medical procedure. I know that. And
Zach, you don't remember when you died?
Yeah. Carl said Kentucky played in your face defense like we normally do. Oh, good point, Carl. Good point, Carl. Tyler said Rick Barnes said he would do senior day differently if he had the choice. I thought that was interesting. Rustin mentioned that a second ago as well. And he said he's guessing that Rick would wish it was longer so they can detach from that emotional moment there. Because like Rustin said, Josiah was crying the whole time. I mean, he was clearly, emotional in that moment. And, you got to give the guy a second to catch his back. Carl said it's zombie Zach. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Mino, like he said, I'd never even seen Zach, but I was bawling, that night that we thought he died. I was too, man. I was tearing up. Absolutely. Let's see. Doug said sometimes it's as simple as who hits their free throws. Kentucky at 89%, we hit 64%. Yeah, you're exactly right, Doug. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate that. And you're exactly right. We went 13 of 19 from the free throw line. Like I said, if they make just 2 more, that's it. If they make 2, then that last possession where we're trying to draw a foul and make a 3, well, instead we can drive all the way to the basket and, tie it with a layup, send it overtime, or win the game with a 3. I mean, it's a totally different scenario. Totally different scenario if they just make free throws. If they make all 6 of them, we win. I mean, like it's really that simple. Big Orange Vol said Missouri basketball going on 17 in SEC play shows you how stacked the league was this year. I think that is a fantastic point. I think that is an incredibly, incredibly good point because Missouri was fantastic in basketball last year. and they couldn't even win a game in the league this year. I think that's a fantastic point. He said, Missouri isn't that bad, really. I agree. Absolutely. Kevin said, Santi seems like he still understands the game, but the execution feels off. Is there something about his confidence? I will say this. He does not look for a shot the way he used to. He's thinking pass first right now, which he does not need to think that.
He has always been a scrappy, savvy, find a way to get it done guy. And I think the greatest indicator of where his confidence is right now was the free run he had at the basket in the first half last night. And instead of jump stopping, getting that dude off his feet and then jumping into him and getting to the free throw line, or throwing up a one-handed floater over the top of him, or jump stopping and kicking it for a wide open three, he tried to finger roll it. Okay. You got a 7-footer in there with a 7'4" wingspan. You can't finger roll it. Like that's not even an option. And it felt like he got into the middle of the lane, and instead of being his typical decisive, confident self, he was like, I'm just going to try and get it up there. And, it got thrown to half court. It's definitely a confidence issue right now.
Like I said, I love watching Sonny play. Yeah, I mean, we do too. We just want him to look for a shot instead of thinking pass first. He is a scorer. He's on the floor to be a scorer, and he needs to look for his shot first and foremost. So, Rustin, do you want to do play of the game or player of the game? I don't even know. I mean, I think the player of the game is pretty obvious. You want to do that one first?
Yeah. If anyone chooses anyone other than Dalton, they need to have their head examined.
Yeah, Dalton. Okay, that was easy. All right, so let's do play of the game. Let's see. Let's see. Carl said this game was tough to watch. Crazy how consistent the team's inconsistencies at times are. Yeah, for sure. Never just one guy off, multiple players at a time. And I'm going to be honest with you, that's what actually gives me hope about the next 3 weeks of basketball.
Yeah.
Because they always have like one game where multiple guys are way off. And then from that point forward, they're back on track again. So I'm hoping this was that one game where you had multiple guys who were just couldn't hit water if they jumped out of a boat. And we're getting back on track after this one. That's my hope. Tony's talking about Lady Vols. We're about to get there. Everybody wants to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it, I promise.
There's a lot of angry Lady Vol fans out there tonight. Yeah.
So, Rustin, did you have a play of the game from last night? And y'all can let us know your play of the game as well.
I was shocked. Jordan Gainey's breakaway dunk. When he started to go up for that thing, I thought he was going to try and get it off the backboard as quickly as possible to avoid the block. Never imagined he would elevate like that. Sure didn't imagine he would hammer dunk it on top of that guy's head. That stunned me. It had zero to do with anything in the rest of the game, but his ability to elevate and make that play blew my mind. That was big time.
Yeah, I don't want to do mine now. Yours was better. I want to switch to your play of the game. I agree. That was the play of the game. When he dunked it, I thought what you thought, he was just going to go up and lay it up. And then he dunked it. I went, whoa.
Well, and honestly, my fear was because of how quickly the defender was closing in, I was worried he wasn't going to get the layup. I felt like the defender was going to pin it on the backboard. So when he altered in midair and just hammer dunked it, I was like, holy cow. Never seen him do that.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. That was pretty sweet. That was pretty sweet. I agree. Yeah. Forget mine. I'm using yours. Yours is better. I was going to say that the last 50 seconds of the game where they came back and just creating turnover after turnover, but that's multiple plays. I know, but I like yours better. I'm going Jordan Gainey dunk. That was the best play. Dalton hitting the shot from the E in Tennessee was pretty good too. But I got to go Jordan Gainey dunk. You're right. That's the best one.
My favorite part of Dalton hitting the shot from the logo was the announcer. I can't remember which one it was. One of them said, when he crosses, you got to get a hand up. And I'm like, nobody teaches their players get a hand up when the dude's standing 30 feet from the basket. Like that's not a thing.
I liked how they said hit it from logo land. I like that. That was pretty good. Like he said, Zakai's 3 after he was cold there for a little bit. Yeah, that's a good point. Doug said, hit that like button. Hey, Doug, I think that's great advice. I think everybody should heed Doug's advice. That is a wise sage right there. Doug is the man. So we'd love it if you'd like and subscribe. That'd be amazing. Darius, welcome, Darius. Good to have you. He said, as a Vols fan from Ohio, can't stand Kentucky, but they were more prepared. Happy the Vols won the SEC. Is it possible that Tennessee play the Big Blue again? Oh, yeah. Or get ready for the NCAA tournament? You want to answer first, and then I'm going to give my answer.
I don't think they'll see him in the NCAA tournament. The only way they'll see him again in the SEC would be the SEC championship. And honestly, I don't want to be in that game. It's just me. It doesn't matter. Honestly, I don't even care if we lose the quarterfinal game. That's an extra 2 days to be back in Knoxville rehabbing and getting ready for the tournament that matters.
So here's my answer to that question. And I think what I say might kind of elaborate on what Rustin just said. So is it possible they played Kentucky again? 100%. It would be in the, like Rustin said, SEC championship game. Do I think they'll play them there? Yes. Do I wish that game wouldn't even be played? Yes. Because like Rustin said, it doesn't matter. You know, we've said this numerous times. If people are like, what are you talking about? It doesn't matter. It's for the SEC tournament title. I get that. I totally understand that. If I had to pick a tournament to win, I'm going to pick the NCAA tournament, not the SEC tournament. Dude, I'd love it if we won both. I mean, shoot, let's do it. I mean, regular season champs, tournament champs, NCAA tournament, national champions. Hey, let's make it happen. But the reason that the SEC tournament championship game does not matter, and if you've listened the past few weeks, then you've heard me say this, it's a Sunday game. The tournament bracket's already set. Every single, for some reason, and I don't get this, but hey, Minolaki, I'm going to put your handle back up here because you're right. It's because the SEC is stupid. That's exactly why. And she mentioned she liked your play of the game too. She said he's the future. So Minolaki has the great handle right here because for some reason, every single conference in college basketball has figured out, don't play your championship game for your conference tournament on Sunday. Every one of them has done it except 2, the Big Ten and the SEC. Everybody else plays their conference championship game on Saturday because they know the committee is going to be wrapping things up Sunday morning, if not late Saturday night. The committee, the only reason that the tournament bracket would change at all on Sunday afternoon is if somebody like, okay, let's say some no-name team in the SEC, not no-name in the SEC, I didn't mean that, but let's say like, I don't know, Auburn, not Auburn, Missouri. Let's use Missouri. Okay. Missouri dead last in the SEC, hadn't won a game yet. Missouri's not getting in the NCAA tournament unless they win the SEC tournament. So unless Missouri somehow makes a 4-game run in this tournament where they beat everybody, they will not be in the NCAA tournament. So the only way anything would change on Sunday is if a team like Missouri wins their conference tournament. And there's only 2 of those now, the Big Ten or the SEC. If a team that's in the tournament already wins their conference tournament, nothing's changing in the NCAA tournament bracket. We, as Tennessee fans, we saw that firsthand just a couple of years ago. So the Big Ten championship game and the SEC championship game, they don't matter a hill of beans in the long run because they're Sunday games. They need to do what everyone else has done and shift it to where they're playing those championship games on Saturday, so they actually matter. That's what they need to do. And I will die on that hill. Let's see. Zach said, so I went back and saw it. It was the Missouri. It was the Missouri reaction show. I didn't feel good going back to it. Russ, and your face. Wow, I'm lucky to have you guys. Hey, we appreciate that. We love you, Zach, man. We do. We love you, man. Zach said his play of the game as the pregame. It was so good. Yeah, once it started, it kind of went downhill after the pregame. Tyler said the Zakai's zeal that initially opened up the comeback, it was his effort and energy that woke everyone up to the possibility of come back. 100% agree. Totally agree. You're exactly right. Yes, totally agree. Mina, like he said, Dalton's 40. That's our play of the game. I like it. There you go. Zach said when they won the East, it almost seems like Rick Barnes was saying, I want to win, but if we don't, okay. Let's see. Kevin said, agree. Tyler Zakai is always good, but he really ignited some fireworks there at the end. He did. Absolutely. Zach said he wants revenge on him in the SEC championship game.
Obviously, you don't want this to happen. Obviously, you don't want to think this way, but 3 games in 3 days is hard, especially as hard as these guys play. And that semifinal game is probably going to be Auburn. Auburn's going to be looking for revenge. They play pretty dirty. Then, if for some reason we survive that, then we get to play a Kentucky team again that we know plays really dirty on 0 rest, 3rd game in 3 days. I hope it doesn't happen because that's an injury waiting to happen. And this team does not have the depth to weather a significant injury.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like you said, Zakai has to be your favorite player. Carl said, yep, Vol That's a good point, Carl. Good analogy. He said Vol baseball got bounced in the SEC tournament and then went to Omaha. Yeah, great point. Doug said, do you think we get a 1 seed or a 2 seed? What do you think, Rustin?
I think we're squarely on the 1 line. I don't think it's even a question anymore.
I think if we make it to Saturday, we definitely get a 1 seed. If we win the quarterfinal game, we definitely have a 1 seed wrapped up. But I mean, who knows? I'm not going to put anything past the committee. Crazier things have happened. John, welcome, John. Good to have you, buddy. He said the Sunday games are for TV dollars. You're exactly right. It's all about the money. That's 100% what it is. You're exactly right. They feel like they got the whole day to themselves. Unfortunately, they're hurting their own teams and their conferences by doing that. But you're exactly right. That is what it's for. Let's see here. Darius said the team to watch out for in conference tournament next week's Florida. They're playing better. I agree, man. Totally.
You would think that, but how in the world did they lose to Vanderbilt last night?
Yeah.
I mean, they go down, they go down and beat Alabama pretty soundly, and then show up 3 days later and lose to Vanderbilt. And it's like, what on earth?
Yeah. Like he said, did I hear correctly that South Carolina needed us to beat Kentucky? Yes, that would be accurate. Yes. That did not work out in their benefit when we lost yesterday. Let's see. Like I said, does Tennessee have any other senior ceremony? Not that I'm aware of. That might change. Zach said, I know it's Tennessee podcast, but did you see Armando Bacot to his coach? No, I did not see that. I have not seen that. I like this, man. Mino Lucky, she's prepping. She's getting ready. Do we know the officials will be on Friday? We don't yet, actually. That would be good to know, though, but unfortunately we don't. Big Orange Vault said, Dan Schulman fires me up when he calls College Game Day. Love hearing him say volunteers. LOL. Let's see.
They usually bring 4 crews to the tournament, though, and they rotate every game so that no crew calls more than 1 game a day. So with 2 games being on Wednesday or Thursday, you can actually do process of elimination and probably figure out pretty good odds who we're going to have on Friday because we're the first game on Friday. So, if you watch closely on Thursday, you can probably get a pretty good idea of who we're going to have.
I like Darius's take here. Darius said, honestly, I believe Tennessee needs the rest and get ready for the tournament. If they get the 1 seed, that's fine, but they need to be focused no matter what region they'll be in. Totally agree.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fantastic 3 weeks of basketball in the NCAA tournament because it's so evenly matched across college basketball. I mean, it's just going to be it's going to be incredibly difficult to pick games in the tournament. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be so much fun. She said, "Well, I feel a little better. I hate South Carolina with a passion." Let's see. Carl said, "Trust the hate. Vols are a 1 seed only if they think it's a disadvantage. Only if the national committee thinks it's a disadvantage." I like that. Tennessee Tinfoil Hat Club. Carl, you're the man, dude. We love having you on here. Doug said, "Looks like we're going to hit the portal pretty hard next year." I agree, actually. I agree with that.
I don't know about pretty hard. I mean, depending on, somebody's going to have to leave because we really only have 2 spots to replace. So unless somebody walks, we've only got 2 scholarships available for the portal.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely going to go try to find another Dalton Connect. I think that's definitely going to happen. So at least one
another
of them.
Dalton Connect at Northern Colorado now.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler said the championship game will have an elite crew. Elite and SEC officials are not usually synonymous.
If
I like that, Tyler.
you mean Doug Schowles will be in the threesome, yeah, not elite.
Yeah, we know Tyler. We know he's joking there. I like that. That's a good one. Backflip Spaghetti said, "Hey fellas, going on to hurt my heart. I really thought the ladies had that one, and the boys had to be humbled. Unfortunately, that's a fair take." Hey, Big Vol Daddy. He said, "Even if been a while, boys keep grinding. Vol's gonna get that first Final Four. I hope so. I really do. They gotta have a healthy Dalton Connect for sure to get that far, and they got to make free throws. Absolutely." Let's see. Like he said, it's going to be a slobber knocker in that Kentucky Tennessee rematch game. Big Orange Vol said the SEC and Big Ten tournament kind of allows you to bank for a region because they're played last.
Maybe.
So let's. Big Valday said free throws are driving me insane. Yeah, absolutely, totally agree. You don't win in March unless you make free throws. That's how you win in March because especially if you're leading at the end, your point guard has to be able to make free throws.
Free throws and rebounds.
So Doug said we need to work that Northern Colorado pipeline.
So if y'all weren't on the other night when we discussed this, there is a 6'7", 200-pound wing at Northern Colorado right now, averaging 20 points a game, who is probably about to enter the transfer portal. And it's like, holy crap, did Dalton Connect literally just reinvent himself all over again?
They cloned him. Zach said, "We lost 1 game in baseball. People who freaked out about the Oklahoma loss are quiet." For sure. I mean, look what happened today.
Yeah.
LSU lost today to Xavier. Wasn't it Xavier?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, teams across the country, national powerhouses have lost in baseball, the mid-majors. Except Tennessee, they haven't done it yet. They just keep winning, baby. Let's see. Darius said the NCAA not caring about athletes only cares about money and ratings when it comes to conference tournaments. But like you said, the teams that win their conference tournament often lose in March. Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. And because that's what it's all about, the money. That's all it is. Let's see. Whoa, hey, Carl. That's what I'm talking about. Carl, Rustin and ready for Fight Club promote. He gave us $10. Carl's funding the Fight Club. That's what's going on. I love it. Thanks, Carl. We appreciate that, buddy. Thank you so much. You are the man. Darius said the free throw line can make you or break you in March. Amen. Absolutely. That's exactly correct. Tyler said, talking about madness, former UT grad assistant and assistant coach Brooks Savage and ETSU defeated UTC tonight to advance to the SoCon championship, 7 seed with a chance to make it to NCAA tournament. Yep. Absolutely. Big Orange Vault said people are worrying if we won't be good next year. I'm sure we'll pick up some good talent via transfer portal. Some good players will want to play for Coach Barnes. Absolutely. I mean, look what they've seen what happened, right? Like they saw what happened with Dalton. Totally agree. I don't know what Zach's talking about.
I said he was a 6'7", 200 wing.
Oh, okay, I got you. I was confused there for a second. I didn't know what was going on. All right. So apparently everybody wants to talk about the Lady Vols, so let's do it. I just so everybody knows, before Rustin starts talking, I thought about showing the replay of that, but
If you want to,
I chose not to for two reasons. Number one, our own mental sanity, and number two, I didn't want YouTube to turn off our live stream again. They got us once, fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me, kind of thing.
If you want a still shot of it, Audrey sent us a still shot in our X direct messenger.
All right, so I'll pull that up here and I'll put that on the screen. They won't demonetize us or turn it off for
yeah.
Oh, she said for my incoming multi-question comment / rant. Thank you, Audrey. That's awesome. So I'm gonna put Audrey's photo up here on the screen here.
Right, there's so much on this play. So let's start with what happened before it. Tennessee could have iced this game, but missed 2 free throws. That's problem number one. But, it is what it is. That happens.
Free throws in March, right? There's a theme there.
After the free throws, and they caught this on camera, South Carolina's guard was bringing up the floor and double dribbled very clearly, like blatant double dribble. They've shown that on repeat multiple times. The ref didn't see it. She had her back turned. I shouldn't say she had her back turned. She had her back slightly turned, but her head was in the wrong place. She's supposed to be watching the girl with the ball, and she was watching the middle of the floor. So she completely missed a double dribble that should have given Tennessee the ball back with 2 seconds left, not South Carolina inbounding with 1. But let's go to, before we get to Audrey's questions and everything she's circled there with Don Staley, let's get to coaching strategy 101. Okay. Number 1, there is only 1 second left. There is nothing anyone can do but catch and shoot. So why on earth are you playing? I'm assuming this is some form of matchup zone. And what on earth is Rakia Jackson doing? Number 2, as soon as they saw Rakia Jackson just kind of standing aimlessly in the middle of the court, Kelly has a timeout left. Why didn't she use it? And
she has 2 timeouts left.
And more importantly, why did no one on her staff go, hey, this looks really bad, call timeout?
Yep.
So I don't just blame Kelly. I blame the entire staff. How did no one recognize that this was a problem? Okay. Problem number 27. Why is Tamari Key on the floor? She's immobile. She does nothing to help you defensively. She's not going to help you on this play.
She did not. Correct.
Look at her. She's standing in the middle of the paint with her hands up. Who is she defending? And why are her hands in the air?
Here's the thing. If you go back and you watch this play, Tamari Key watches Cardoso, how you say her name, catch the ball at the top of the key, and she actually takes a step toward her and then stops and backs up.
Yeah.
So, clearly the game plan was we don't guard her on the perimeter of the when they have the ball. But in this situation, you guard her on the perimeter with the ball. Like, I couldn't believe it.
So for giggles, let's say because for whatever reason, Kelly's staff is completely in love with Tamari Key and refused to take her off the floor, even though they've got Jillian Hollingshed over there, who is significantly more mobile and would have been way better in this situation. Honestly, pretty much anyone on that bench would have been better in this situation. But let's just say for giggles, because we seem to be in love with her, we had to keep her in the game. Why is she not on the ball?
Yeah,
she's
for real.
6'5". If she wants to stand there with her hands in the air, let her go stand with her hands in the air on the ball. This is at best a 47-foot baseball pass to the backboard if they can't see where they're throwing it in.
Yep.
You win. Like, it's so illogical. It blows my mind that no one on the, and again, we said it a couple of weeks ago. I don't blame Kelly. I blame the whole staff. Like, why is no one on that staff aware of these things? And again, what's Rakia doing? Why is Tamari Key standing in the middle of the lane? Why is she not either on the ball or on the bench for a better player? Why are they not playing a sagging man on every single person so they can watch the ball get thrown in and then jump the pass? Because look where the offense is. Are you telling me that that girl can throw a ball in and no one can go intercept it? Like, this is simple. And they just gave it away.
It was the easiest pass and catch I may have ever seen ever in the history of college basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, no even attempt to get in a passing lane. It was just an easy okay, throw it there and she shoots. It's real. I mean, unreal. Unreal.
So Audrey just said they were expecting a 2, not a 3. Okay, so as somebody who coached women's college basketball, I can attest, because everybody practices this, and this is not a sexist comment. Women don't throw basketballs on a baseball pass very far or very accurately. So look at where she's inbounding from. If they were expecting a 2, that would be a 45 to 47 foot baseball pass toward the rim. If our girls aren't athletic enough to go intercept that thing or tip it away, we deserve to lose anyway. Like, that's pathetic. So everything about this was a train wreck from the start. The minute they looked up and saw Rakia standing in no man's land, somebody should have been burning a timeout. If for no other reason, as soon as South Carolina lined up, we should have burned a timeout just to see how they lined up and then switch the defense up to throw them a loop. Yep. We had timeouts to burn.
Yep.
Every bit of this was, again, no one wanted Kelly to succeed more than me, because Holly Warlick was a dumpster fire. So Kelly needed to succeed. But that, if Kelly's going to succeed, that whole staff's got to change.
One thing you haven't even mentioned yet is we only had 3 fouls.
Yeah. So we had plenty of fouls to give.
If we're denying the ball all over the place and we, they get it inbounded to someone and we foul them immediately before they even start to try to take a shot. Ideally, you would be guarding them so hard that they would have to be moving away from the basket. Like, that's the goal in this situation. You're guarding them so tight that they have to be going away from the goal that they're trying to shoot in. Because if that's the case, if they catch the ball, they can't get a shot off because they can't catch it, turn around and do it. So if they're moving away from the basket, you have many fouls to give. As soon as they catch it, you foul them real quick. Well, now there's probably half a second gone off the clock. So now they're down to maybe 4/10 or 5/10 of a second. That's it. And I mean, that would be incredibly difficult to get a shot off at that point. So
look at the angle that she's throwing this inbounds in. Again, if Tamari Key is just standing in front of her with her hands straight up, she can't pass the ball. Like, you can tell by the angle she's throwing that in and by her wrist snap, she's not strong enough to get the ball where it needs to be.
Yeah, she threw it like a baseball pass. And so she threw it like a baseball throw is what she did. I mean, it was just, like I said, it was the easiest pass and catch and shoot I think I may have ever seen. Like, no attempt to even get anywhere near the ball. Like, it still blows my mind. So Audrey, let's answer her question. She said, first of all, the double dribble no call. Yep. And then the first circle on Audrey's diagram here. So this, I think you can see my mouse moving too around Don Staley up there. So she said, why was Staley out of the coach's box when South Carolina had no timeouts during that inbound? Was it to distract the ref in case Coach Kelly Harper called a timeout? So go ahead.
It might be that. It might be she's politicking for a call, because she may know right here that there's no way they're going to score. And she may be looking, I think she's probably stunned that they're throwing it into Cardoso right here, because that's probably not what they drew up. And she's probably looking for if a ball gets thrown in, they're gonna foul us. This is gonna be a foul. She's trying to get a call to get another play because she's out of timeouts.
Yep. Audrey's second question was, did Rakia Jackson not hear the live ball inbound whistle? What was there a whistle? Like, why is she looking away from the play?
Yes, there was a whistle, and this was one of the things I was insanely frustrated about. She actually started even closer to the ball than where she is right now, and then just slowly started moving backwards with apparently no goal to where in the world she was going to. She's just kind of aimlessly wandering around. It made no sense.
Yep. And then, if you think, okay, well, if she sees that player wide open like that, Cardosa to be that wide open, surely she would run over and at least jump in front of her, to try to contest the shot a little bit, but she didn't. She took another step away from her. Audrey's third question was, why was Rakia focused on Don Staley? Did Staley say something? It looks so in this screenshot, it looks like Rakia is looking at Don Staley. I think she's actually looking over out of the corner of her eye at Cardosa based on when you watch the whole play unfold. But it was a comedy of errors, man. And it was embarrassing, honestly. This was an embarrassing play to Tennessee basketball. Can you imagine what Pat Summitt would have said if she had seen this?
So there is a gimmick defense you can run where you've got 3-man 2 zone. And if that is what they're doing, if they said, okay, Tamari, you defend the goal, any lob they try to throw to the basket, which they can't throw from here, you go pick it off. Because look, the other 3 guards are playing man to man. The only person who seemingly has zero job is Rakia Jackson. So if they're playing 3-man 2 zone, Rakia should be standing at the free throw line. I mean, I have no idea what she's doing right now.
Yep. Let's see. Tyler said, to start with, South Carolina double dribbled. Yep, you're right. Let's see. Carl said that he said he's noticed the women's team shoots better free throws than the men's team. Well, that's because Kelly makes them shoot 100 of them every day, every practice.
Didn't come to fruition when it mattered. They missed 2 right before this.
So Kevin, before we started talking about this, he said, I would jokingly ask if the Lady Vols played this weekend, but I'm worried I might incite a riot. Tyler, this is great. Tyler said the worst part is there's a pastor in Michigan who used this play as a sermon illustration today. That's not good.
Was it an illustration of the blind leading the blind?
I mean, like this was embarrassing for Lady Vols basketball. I mean, I'm just being honest. Darius said Lady Vols should have kept playing defense till the final seconds. The player for South Carolina still hit the shot, so be it. Absolutely, man. At least, I agree. Like, get up on her and try to contest the shot at least, right?
I mean, honestly, look at where that ball is and look where Rakia is. If Rakia is actually watching the inbound, she probably intercepts this pass.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like I said, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it, and go back and watch Tamari Key. Like I said, she actually takes a step toward when she sees the ball moving and going to Cardosa. She takes a step toward her, but then stops and backs back up and just leaves her all alone. Nobody within 17 feet of her. It blows my mind.
Which again goes back to coaching, because what is she defending? There's 1 second on the clock. The minute you see that girl free, she can't catch and pass. She's got to take the shot. So why are you backing up? The minute you see that somebody else clearly screwed up, go get a hand in that face. I mean,
yep.
That's all coaching.
Tyler said Kelly said she didn't take a timeout so as to give South Carolina a chance to draw something up. Not sure that was a good excuse, but that's what her answer was.
Everybody, Tyler, you know as well as I do, everybody has in-game situations that they rep every day in practice, whether it's full court, half court. That's why Cardosa knew to pop out right here, because I mean, that girl's not just randomly throwing the ball in. They have a set play they've called, and this is what was open. And again, whether the play was drawn or not, as soon as they saw Rakia Jackson standing where she is, everybody on that bench should have been screaming timeout. It's inexcusable.
So Big Orange Vol asked a really good question, and so I'm going to take you on a little journey history of inbounds defense plays. So Big Orange Vol said, "Why do teams defend out of bounds anyway? You get an extra defender by sending them out." So here's where this originated. In 1992, Grant Hill threw a full court length pass to Christian Leitner, who caught the ball with 1.4 seconds left and made a fadeaway jumper from the free throw line to beat Kentucky. Ever since then, and at that time, no one was guarding Grant Hill, covering up the inbounds pass. No one was covering up Grant Hill. So he had no barrier, no obstacle in front of him. He could make a clean pass with nobody adjusting or altering that pass.
And more importantly, he had a clear view. Like he knew where to throw it because he could see what was available.
Exactly. That's why the men's team on any inbounds play from underneath the goal, Jonas Adu is the person who's over the ball, because you put the biggest dude in front of the guy who's trying to make a pass. It makes inbounding the ball more difficult. You can't get a clean pass just, wherever you want to throw the ball. It makes inbounding the ball that much more difficult. So in this situation right here, this is actually a prime example of why someone should have been on the ball. So in this situation, the girl inbounding the ball, and somebody asked where, Bobby, welcome, Bobby, good to have you. He said, where's the ref handing the ball to the inbounder? He's off to the right, or she's off to the right.
Yeah.
So in this situation,
this is the perfect scenario to have somebody on the ball.
If someone is making this a more difficult pass, the way it is right now, she could just sit there and just pass it to her like she's throwing a football to somebody. I mean, just like there's no impediment between her and the receiver here. So she can just make a clean pass as she wants to, see everything she needs to see. There's nothing impeding her view or her passing lanes. If you put somebody on her who's going nuts and jumping all over the place and trying to make that as difficult as humanly possible to get it in, all of a sudden, even if somebody breaks open, becomes much more difficult to get the ball to that person. You would have to, fake a pass before you make a pass kind of thing, and maybe fake low and then try to pass high over the person and get their hands moving. It just becomes much more difficult. And so that's why people put someone over the inbounds player, because you got to make sure that pass is not an easy one. And unfortunately, this is the textbook example of here's what happens when you don't put someone over it, because no joke. I mean, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. She literally, I mean, it's the easiest pass and catch you've ever seen. She just throws it straight to the girl. She catches it, turns and shoots. I mean, it's like the worst defense in the history of basketball is being played at this point. It was bizarre watching it. So Audrey said Rakia never turned around, even after the ball was shot.
Nope.
Only when the game was over did Rakia seem to realize what had happened. Let's see. Tyler said, "Let Rustin cook."
There is literally nothing in this possession that could go wrong if you call timeout and get everybody arranged. Like it's not fathomable that anything negative can happen here, especially if you put Tamari Key on the ball, or anybody, Jillian Hollingshed, anybody bigger with long arms, make this girl making it from that angle. There's not many inbounds passes she can even make that are going to be, catchable and shootable. It's unbelievable that this happened.
Welcome, Jeff. Good to have you, buddy. Jeff said, "I hate it, but they just spoon-fed that win to South Carolina." Totally agree, man. So, I mean, they literally handed it to them. Some of the worst coaching blunders I've ever seen in a major level. The coaches locked up. Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. They literally gave this to them. You have to at least try to contest the shot or something, alter it, put a hand in their face, something. I mean, like, you got to do something. You can't just literally stand there and just watch them shoot to win the game, which is exactly what happened. And like Rustin said, I mean, if you put probably 7 out of 10 coaches in this situation, and you have 2 timeouts left to burn, you're going to let them walk out there, line up, and immediately call timeout and say, okay, if they do that again, here's what we're going to do. If they don't do that, then here's what we're going to do. And you give your players 2 things. And you say, if they do this, we do this. If they do this, we do this. And that's how you come out of that timeout. And to Kelly's benefit and luxury here, she had another one that she could have used even after that if she wanted to. Like if they come out of the timeout and somehow they've done something where they drew up something that they weren't even expecting, then you still got another timeout. And you could say, whoa, we weren't expecting that, so let's do this instead. But Rustin's exactly right. As soon as the coaching staff saw what Tamari was doing and what Rakia was doing, they should have immediately started shouting timeout and be like, hey, we have to at least guard somebody, because right now, somebody mentioned in the comments, if you don't cover the ball, it's 5-on-4, and I get that. But what they're doing right now was 4-on-3, where you have 2 people who aren't playing defense on anybody.
Yep.
It's unreal. Shady Wolf, welcome, Shady Wolf. That is an interesting name. They said we can beat them. They can be 100 times better than this. They need to find it fast. Totally agree.
I don't know that I agree with that. I think this was their absolute best game of the year. They came back from down 23. They caught South Carolina looking ahead to LSU. South Carolina went out there and survived a slugfest with LSU today. And I'm going to tell you right now, we can't play consistently with either of those teams. I think we took our best shot. We had our one chance and we blew it.
Tyler said the sermon illustration from Michigan was, even if you haven't done something before, it can still be done. Oh, man. That's never good when you lose on Saturday and it's being used as an illustration on Sunday. That's not what you want, for sure. Shady Wolf said we need to start beasting the recruiting trail. Amen to that. We got too much in the women's part to not, if the recruiters aren't doing it, find one. That is where this gets fixed, is in the recruiting.
Well, you hope. I mean, again, I hate to keep beating on this drum, but tell me who on this team's gotten better. I mean,
yeah, that's a good point.
We lose at the end of this year. We lose Jewel Spear, Rakia Jackson, Jasmine Powell, Tamari Key, Tess Darby, and possibly Destiny Wells if she doesn't get granted a medical red shirt. So coming into the season, 6 of our top 10 players won't be back next year if Destiny Wells doesn't get a medical red shirt. Do you think this team's going to survive losing 6 of its top 10 players? Like, I just don't see it. They're going to have to become the greatest recruiters ever in the transfer portal, because they're going to have to overhaul everything. But even then, this is the coaching staff that just watched this play right here and didn't call timeout. And I didn't say Kelly Harper. I said staff, all of them.
Yeah,
everybody looked at what we're looking at and went, it'll work out.
Brent said no basketball IQ, and yeah, he is correct. There is no basketball IQ being demonstrated in this particular play. They played extremely well to come back in the game, and then it's like all of it was just thrown out the window in this particular moment. Kevin said, consider how the men's game ended. They made the last 8 points and stole the ball in inbounds. Yep, for sure. They're playing incredible inbounds defense there. Like you said, we look completely feckless in this particular moment here. Braden said, I know I'm late, but what we learned is that if our bigs can't get rebounds and we can't stop the 3 ball, it doesn't matter if Dalton drops 40. I agree with that. Brant said, if I didn't know better, you'd think we threw the game because of what we're looking at in this particular moment. I mean, you're looking, okay, now I get that, because you look at this screenshot, which once again, Audrey, you're the real MVP here. You sent us the screenshot. And in the screenshot, we have 2 people who are guarding no one with the game on the line. I mean, like, what in the world?
And more importantly, don't seem to see a problem with it. Like, at some point here, Tamari Key should have been like, "Oh, screw it, I'm going and getting her." Like, I mean, but no, she stands her ground, dadgummit. We're not going to let anybody score at the rim, even though no one's down there.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Braden said Tennessee baseball looks unstoppable. Yep, they do. We'll mention that here in just a second. Jeff said the reality is two players plumb out of the play. Key is locked into the basket because Kelly wanted her there, afraid of a pass in the lane and shot. Rakia is nowhere in the play. Yeah, that is accurate. Brant said Slugfest was right, Rustin. Yeah, especially after the game. And their brothers, apparently, who came out on the court, which still blows my mind. Like, that is unreal. Audrey said recruiting is all but non-existent. And that's not a good reality there, is it, Audrey? I mean, she's right.
We've got a commitment. We've got a commitment from the top rising sophomore in America. But as far as the current junior and senior classes, yeah, there's not much there.
Tyler said, what is telling is that Kelly was telling Tamari to guard the rim right before this on the screen. I said out loud, I don't think that will work.
Well, more importantly, why does she have to be under the basket? Look where the ball's being thrown in from. If she just goes to the free throw line, are you telling me that a girl can throw the ball to the basket from where that girl's standing before she can get down there from the free throw line? If that's the case, cut her and take her scholarship. I mean, that's...
Yeah. I mean, she'd have to move 15 feet before the ball travels 47 feet. I mean, like, yeah. It's bizarre, man. It's totally bizarre. Bizarre is the best word I can think of to explain this. Audrey, thank you so much for sending us this screenshot. That was extremely helpful. I very much appreciate that you sent that to us. Just unreal. Yeah. She said Rakia just had to turn around. I mean, that's all she had to do. And she could have seen what was happening right there behind her and hopefully could have tried to alter that shot. Brent, welcome, Brent. Good to have you.
Random question Vols basketball. Winner goes to Brent.
What's the age difference between the 7 years? There's 7 years difference between us. So I'll let you guess which one is the older. There's 7 years difference. All right. So last topic of the evening. Thank you very much, Audrey, for that. We appreciate it. Last topic of the evening. Vols baseball's doing well. 15-game winning streak. That's not bad. They won 24-1 yesterday. I mean, hello, they're playing a Division I baseball team and they beat them 24-1. And that was incredible. Today they get down 3-0. It's their first. Braden just said 24-1 against a Power 5 team is crazy. It is. It's nuts. It's unbelievable. Today AJ Causey comes out Friday and just shuts them down, man. And you just shut them down. Drew Beam does the same thing yesterday. And today they come out, they get down 3-0 actually, and then they just storm back and end up winning 8-3. I mean, we've said it over and over. All these teams, South Carolina, Clemson, Mississippi State, Auburn, Vanderbilt, and now LSU. They're all losing to mid-major teams. They've lost at least. Florida almost got beat by St. Mary's yesterday. They had to win in a walk-off in extra innings to beat St. Mary's yesterday. But you know who hasn't lost any of those? Tennessee. And now we have Eastern Kentucky this week. And then Alabama at Alabama next week to start SEC play. We're already at SEC play, which is crazy.
The biggest thing that stood out to me, and it's a little misleading because of Illinois' record, but for those who don't follow a lot of college baseball, typically they're having a down year this year, but typically Illinois is actually pretty good. Dan Hartleb's the head coach there. He's been there for 30 years. 18 of those as head coach. He has over 500 wins in those 18 years. In the 2010 to 2020, he was named Big Ten Coach of the Decade. So like we're not beating some terrible Big Ten team here. We're beating a traditionally very strong program. And not only did we beat them 38-7 on the weekend. I mean, that is complete domination.
Absolutely. Tyler said, if you beat a Power 5 team by 23 runs, you're doing okay. I agree. That's a good point.
And let's not overlook softball either. They went 4-0 on the weekend, and in those 4 games, they outscored their opponents 38-0. 2 of those 4 games were Ohio State.
Both teams, softball and baseball, both had a grand slam today.
Baseball had 11 home runs on the weekend.
They not were shabby.
Pounding the ball.
Not too shabby. And some of them were no doubters, like Blake Burke. I mean, like if you were walking along the Tennessee River yesterday, you might have gotten hit by Blake Burke's home run. Like he destroyed that ball. He destroyed it. Let's see. Brant said Burke got tossed for saying something to the catcher after his home run. I guess the teams were warned earlier.
Yeah, yes. Tony Vitello confirmed that after the game. Both teams and all the media saw it. Both teams were warned because they were both running their mouth. When Blake Burke crossed home plate, he said something to the catcher, and that was all the umpire needed. He was the first one to run his mouth after they both been warned, and they have zero tolerance for that this year. Like if the dugout gets warned and you keep going, they're going to make an example out of you.
Well, you can watch it too. Like on the replay, they were showing it. And as he rounds third base, he's trotting home. He doesn't, I thought when they first happened, it's always they look at the dugout and they say something to the dugout. That's always what happens after they round third base. But he didn't do that. And so he's like, I'm sitting there watching him in that replay. And I'm like, he didn't even look at the dugout. Well, then he turns to the left. Okay. As he's coming towards the turf, I almost said cutout, but it's not a cutout. What? Inlay, I don't know. When he gets to the brown turf, we'll put it that way. The umpire is standing literally right next to him, and then the catcher is standing right beside the umpire. So whatever he said, the umpire 100% heard it because he was standing literally right next to the guy. And Blake, as he's crossed the plate, he turns and he looks, and you can see him saying something as he's trotting to the catcher as he passes him. So whatever he said, he shouldn't have said it. And
it wasn't going to take much after they've been so it's a point of emphasis. So anytime it's a point of emphasis, they're going to overwhelm everybody with it. As soon as both dugouts got warned, they were just looking for somebody to be the first. Like it was inevitable.
But what that means is that Blake Burke cannot play against Eastern Kentucky. So Dalton Bargo, I'm sure, will be starting at first that day.
Yeah.
Blake
depends.
will be.
If they throw a left-hander, it might be Ethan Payne. They might go righty-lefty.
And then Blake will be back for the weekend series at Alabama. And what's going to be interesting is after that LSU and South Carolina scarfuffle, or today with the fans coming out of the stands, their first game in the NCAA women's tournament. You're shaking your head no?
They walked that back.
Oh,
so
you're
the announcers initially said, they went through that whole thing of South Carolina is only going to have 6 players. LSU is only going to have 5. That's not the rule. The rule is
SEC gets to determine it.
No, the rule is if you're ejected for participating, in other words, if you shove somebody, you punch somebody, you're sitting for that. If you're ejected because you leave the bench, you're just ejected from that game. There's no suspension.
Oh, so they'll probably have 10 or 11 players.
The only people who have to sit the first round of the tournament are the people who shoved or anything. Well, I shouldn't say throw a punch. Nobody threw a punch. They were all just pushing and shoving. But those are the only people that have to sit a game.
And the one girl's brother.
Yeah. Well, no, he's getting to spend the night in a holding cell.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he came on the court during a game.
Yeah, that was crazy. Dude hopped the scores table, and the cops had to cuff him.
He gets an extra special suspension.
Yeah. Tyler said Evan was about to call a 16 seed over a 1. I wasn't going to go that far. Actually, earlier when I was thinking, I was like, even if they only have 5 people, they're still going to win the game.
some of these 16 seeds in the women's side, even if somebody fouled out, LSU could probably still beat them 4-on-5.
Yeah. Audrey said the men's and women's, softball and baseball had grand slams at approximately the same time. You're exactly right. It was really cool. Both in Knoxville, which was cool. Let's see. Carl said in the rain, Burke launched it. Braden said the only other shot I've ever seen hit that far at Lindsey Nelson was Drew Gilbert's walk-off grand slam in 2022. I thought the exact same thing. I was like, I wonder which one went farther. I thought the exact same thing.
TrackMan estimated, I don't know what Gilbert's was. TrackMan estimated Blake Burke's at 450.
That's pretty far. Jeff said, I think the catcher was jawing something earlier. You're exactly right. That's exactly what was going on. They were talking about that on the broadcast, that Blake and the catcher had been, and I think Tony Vitello mentioned that too. They had been talking to each other before that. Like they were already in each other's, on each other's nerves and stuff. And then Blake just said something. I don't know what it was, but he said something. Audrey said when Blake hits it, you yell yard and 4. Yeah, for real. Brant said, yeah, he gets one night free in the Gray Bar Motel, the brother of the dude there. Tyler said, am I right that Tennessee is the only program with baseball and softball in the top 10? That's a great question. I don't know.
I believe LSU.
I mean, that if there is another one, LSU would probably be it. I would say LSU. Oklahoma, but their baseball team's not in the top 10.
Yeah, LSU softball's number 3, so LSU would be the other one.
So that's pretty good company. One of only 2 programs in the country. That's awesome. That's a good stat there, Tyler. Let's see. Carl said thought was Burke being lips, but heard later after home run he carried bat too far.
Vitello confirmed it after the game. It was what he said to the catcher.
Let's see. I did star one comment, 2 of them actually, and this is how we'll end our show. So Moondrop's Beauty said the ladies did show a lot of fight and grit. I didn't know they had to come back like that. She said I'll give them that. They sold themselves short though in those last plays. They should have won. Totally agree.
Yep.
Totally agree. Tony said, put someone in the face of the South Carolina player taking the ball out of bounds, and that pass never happens.
Yep.
Kelly blew it. Also, the girl missing 2 free throws cost us. Just make one. Yep. Totally understand. John said, big question. Does Barnes retire if he wins the national championship? I don't think so.
I've wondered because all of a sudden out of nowhere, Kim English has been around the program a lot, which is weird because his team's playing right now. But every time Providence is off, he's been coming back and hanging out in Thompson Bowling. So I'm starting to wonder, honestly, if there's a conversation that's already been taking place.
Audrey didn't like that, John. That's what I'm talking about, Audrey. That's pretty good. That's a good question. It's a really good question. But yeah, I don't think he's retiring, but I could be wrong for sure. He'll definitely be inducted in the Hall of Fame this year. So yeah, he's got that going for him for sure. Well, we really appreciate everybody joining us. So let me explain to you real quick what's coming up on the horizon. Many of you may remember it. So if you've seen Tyler commenting throughout the show, so Tyler has joined us on air before. He worked in the Tennessee Athletic Department for several years. And so it was really cool getting kind of behind the scenes, look from him. And we're going to get that again this Thursday. We're really excited to have Tyler join us on Thursday night. So if you're with us Thursday night at 9:00, you're going to see Tyler. He's going to give us kind of like what it's like because, Tennessee plays probably if I had to guess, the very first game on Friday.
They're the 1:00. They're the 1:00 game on Friday.
There you go. So going into that tournament, Tyler's going to give us kind of like a behind the scenes look of what it's like for the team, the people working, in the athletic department who travel with the team, what it's like behind the scenes getting ready for that tournament appearance in that game. So I'm excited to hear that. I'm really intrigued by that. So we'll have Tyler with us on Thursday night to talk about that. And then Sunday night, we're having our annual bracketology show. So we love doing that last year. Last year we had a group set up and we gave away a gift card to the winner of the bracket challenge. I think Ricky Allison. Did Ricky Allison win that? I can't remember who won that.
Yeah.
I think it was Ricky. So we're going to do that again this year. We'll have a bracket tournament challenge going Sunday night. Reed Carringer's going to join us Sunday night, and he's going to do bracketology with us. He's going to give us his picks. So really, really exciting. Carl said, "Thanks, Tyler. That's going to be really cool to hear you on Thursday." It will be. I'm really excited to hear like the behind the scenes look at it. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. Tons of Tennessee athletics over the next week. And man, next Sunday night, it's like a national holiday in my opinion. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, and on top of that, you've got the SEC tournament. You've got a 3-game series with Alabama.
Yep.
Who does softball open with next weekend? They got Missouri 3-game series. So there's a lot happening next weekend.
As I say that, I realize the irony of what I just said. Next Sunday is a national holiday. It's St. Patrick's Day. But for me, it's a national holiday because it's Selection Sunday, and that's one of my favorite days of the year.
Can we checkerboard green?
You know what? Hey, next Sunday, I'll turn my background green like that. How about that?
That's not the same. I said checkerboard green.
Yeah.
And then you flip the switch on a light.
Yeah. Now it just looks like like we're a Miami podcast. It's got green.
Actually, it looks like the background in one of the Grinch Stole Christmas movies.
That's so little known fact. This was the background, and
yeah,
and they filmed it in our bonus room at our house. Kevin said, "Fun shows coming up." Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, like he said, sounds fun. Tyler, looking forward to it. Absolutely. So we hope everybody has a great few days ahead of you here, and we look forward to seeing everybody on Sunday. For people who may be traveling for spring break, we wish you safe travels. Look at us, man. We're men of the people. Like we think about people's traveling, and we wish everybody safe traveling. Zach, I hope your date went well tonight, man. Hope that works out for you. So
whatever you do, don't give her your login credentials.
Amen. Absolutely. But we love all y'all. This is so much fun. And Audrey, thank you for sending us that photo so we can show that. That was very, very helpful. So we appreciate everybody. I'm going to do the baseball/softball outro because they didn't lose this weekend. So that's the one I'm going to do. So we hope everybody has a great week. We will see you Thursday night, same time, same place, 9:00. And we hope everybody has a great few days. Go Vols, baby.